It's kind of funny, isn't it? How learning something really specific, like, I don't know, a sport, can suddenly teach you, well, almost everything about other things.
Oh, absolutely. You find these connections everywhere once you start looking.
Yeah, the discipline just bleeds over. We've actually got a great example of that for you today, something to really chew on.
We do. We're taking a deep dive into this blog post. It's called E-Fligure Tennis Tuesdays, A Master Your Tennis Game. And it's by Clara J.
Tennis, right. And you might be thinking, okay, tennis.
Yeah, what's that got to do with me? But Clara, she breaks down mastering tennis into these four, foundational categories.
And they offer some genuinely compelling parallels. Really interesting stuff for mastering almost anything, I think.
Exactly. So our mission here isn't just about tennis, not just a courtside view.
No, we're unpacking these core pillars she talks about. So there's fitness specifically, footwork, then stroke technique, game strategy, and the mental game.
We want to see what kind of, unexpected wisdom might be hiding in there for anyone trying to get better at their own game.
Whatever that game is, we're looking for those little aha moments, the ones that click.
And Clara J sets it up nicely right at the start. She says something like, she's learned everything I know about life from my sport, which is a pretty bold claim.
It is, but it highlights how these deep dives, especially early on, can really shape how we see progress, how we see mastery itself.
Yeah. And then she lays out these four areas: fitness, technique, strategy, mind.
Okay, let's get into it. Started with fitness. And she really zooms in on footwork. Covering the court effectively, she says, is just paramount. But it's not just about running fast, is it? What's the nuance there?
Well, that's what's interesting. It's a mix. Speed, yes, agility, definitely, but also a kind of elegance, efficiency.
Efficiency, okay.
Yeah, you need to be quick, but you also need to move smart economically. You're trying to anticipate where the ball's going, and you're keeping track of your opponent all at once.
Huh. It's like this very dynamic awareness.
Exactly.
That really makes you think, doesn't it? About navigating like a complex project at work or even just a crowded situation, moving efficiently but staying totally aware. That tracks beyond the tennis court.
Precisely. It's about efficient movement and awareness in any environment, really.
Okay, so from footwork, let's pivot to the next one.
Yeah.
Stroke technique.
Right. And here, Clara J really hammers home the idea of energy efficiency. Hitting the ball right, as she puts it.
So it's not just brute force.
No, not at all. It's about precision. Minimizing wasted effort with every single swing. Finding that sweet spot, like you said earlier.
Right, the sweet spot. And she talks about the long-term impact too, doesn't she? Preventing injuries.
Oh, massively. Especially with the sheer amount of repetition in tennis. Think about how many times you hit a forehand or a backhand in just one practice session.
Thousands, probably.
Easily. So if your technique is off, even slightly, that incorrect movement repeated over and over, well, that leads to strain and eventually injury.
Makes sense.
And she links this to muscle memory. You know, how repeating movements makes them automatic. The brain just wires them in.
So good practice builds good habits, bad practice builds bad ones.
Essentially, yes. Practicing the right way builds good muscle memory. Efficient, effective movement becomes second nature. But if you practice wrong, you groove in those bad habits. You're less effective, and you're setting yourself up for problems down the line.
It really underscores getting the fundamentals right in anything, really.
Absolutely. Solid foundation is key.
Okay, so we've got how you move, how you execute the action. Now let's talk game strategy. This sounds more analytical.
It is. This is where Clara J brings in things like stats, even physics, the angles on the court, and basic probability.
Probability. In tennis, how did that work?
Well, think about where your opponent is likely to hit the ball based on where they are, where you are, what shot they just hit. It's all about playing the percentages.
Okay. And what's interesting is how she kind of debunks the idea of some magic formula for winning.
Yeah, she really downplays the flashy stuff. Instead, she emphasizes consistency and maybe even more importantly, minimizing unforced errors.
Unforced errors. So those are the ones where you just mess up on your own, right? No pressure from the opponent.
Exactly. Hitting the ball into the net, hitting it long. Every time you do that, you're just handing your opponent a point for free.
So the strategy isn't necessarily about hitting amazing winners all the time.
Not primarily, no. It's more about being reliable. Solid, making your opponent work for every single point.
She boils it down, basically, to win more points by being more consistent than the other person.
It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it?
It does, but it's powerful. It's like focusing on the basics, avoiding silly mistakes. That often gets you further than trying for the spectacular all the time. Like in business, sometimes just executing flawlessly day in, day out is the real win.
That's a great parallel. Those small, consistent wins add up. They often outweigh those occasional, brilliant, but risky moves.
Yeah. Okay, so consistency, strategy. That leads us neatly into the fourth one, which for many people is the big one, the mind.
The mental game. Clara J calls the mind the ultimate opponent.
That internal battle, right?
Yeah.
The pressure, the doubts.
Yep, she calls it a mystery. Says books and movies are made about it, and you can see why. It's fascinating, but also really hard to get a handle on.
Why do you think it's seen as so mysterious compared to, say, fixing your serve?
Well, think about coaching. A coach can watch your serve. They can see the mechanics. They can say, toss the ball higher, or snap your wrist more. It's observable, physical.
Right. Tangible.
But the mind, how do you observe someone's internal state? How do you coach confidence or focus or dealing with nerves? It's much more internal, elusive.
It requires a lot of self-awareness from the player, too, I guess.
Definitely. And trust. You need to be willing to talk about feelings, about fear, about pressure. That takes courage. It's not as simple as adjusting your grip.
And this is where she brings in that killer quote from Billie Jean King. Pressure is a privilege.
Ah, yes. That's such a powerful reframe.
Totally changes how you look at those moments, doesn't it? Instead of something to dread.
It becomes a sign that you're doing something significant. You've earned the right to be in that high-pressure situation. It flips the script from threat to opportunity.
I love that. And Clara J makes another key point here. The mental game becomes more important as you get better.
Exactly. When you're just starting out, maybe technique flaws are the biggest hurdle, but as you climb the ranks, as everyone gets technically proficient and strategically sound, then the difference often comes down to who handles the pressure better, who keeps their head.
Precisely. At the elite level, physical skills and strategies might be very evenly matched. So mental fortitude, resilience, focus under pressure, that often becomes the deciding factor, the differentiator.
Wow.
So it's like the final frontier of mastery, in a way.
You can definitely see it like that.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've looked at these 4 pieces Clara J lays out. Fitness, focusing on that crucial footwork.
The physical foundation.
Then the stroke technique, hitting the ball right, efficiently, building good habits.
The execution.
Then game strategy, the thinking part, consistency over flashiness, minimizing errors.
The analytical side.
And finally, the mind, the internal battle, pressure as a privilege, the ultimate differentiator.
And they're all interconnected, aren't they? You can't really isolate one. Poor fitness affects your technique. Mental lapses lead to strategic errors. It's a whole system.
Absolutely. And like Clara J said right at the beginning, the lessons learned here through tennis,
Yeah.
they really do seem to echo way beyond the court.
That framework she provides, physical prep, technical skill, strategy, mental strength, it feels applicable to so many things we try to master.
Yeah, it really does. So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. In your own game, maybe it's your job, a hobby, parenting, whatever challenge you're engaged with. Which of these 4 areas feels like it plays the biggest role for you right now? Is it the preparation, the actual execution, the planning and strategy, or is it the mental fortitude?
And maybe, thinking about what we've discussed from Clara J's tennis insights, which area, if you focus on it, might give you the biggest boost? Where's your biggest opportunity for growth?
Definitely something worth pondering. Food for thought from the tennis court.